Will Smith and Janet Hubert hadn't spoken in 27 years. Their feud destroyed her career and haunted him with guilt. When they finally sat down together, she revealed the devastating truth he never knew. She was trapped in an abusive marriage, fighting just to survive. What happened next left everyone in tears. Here are 8 times celebrities met old rivals from their past. Elton John has never been one to hold back his opinions. If he doesn't like something, he'll tell you. If he thinks you're overrated, he'll say it. And in the 2000s and 2010s, he had a lot to say about Madonna. He called her career disappointing. He said her tours were lip-sync disasters. He openly supported Lady Gaga, which many saw as a direct shot at Madonna. The two were in a very public, very messy feud, and it looked like it was never going to end. But then in the summer before 2023, Elton was vacationing in the south of France. He was at a restaurant with his husband, David Furnish, when he noticed someone across the room, Madonna. It was pure chance. They didn't plan to be there, but Elton saw her and something clicked. He realized he didn't want to carry this feud anymore, so he did something unexpected. He sent her a note.
Just happened to be in the same restaurant. She came in, I sent over a note. She was very gracious. I apologized profusely because what I said should never have appeared in public.
Madonna could have ignored it. She could have sent a polite thanks but no thanks response. But she didn't. She accepted his apology and they talked. Right there in the restaurant, they buried the hatchet. Elton admitted that his comments were out of line, that he let his ego and competitiveness cloud his judgment, and Madonna, to her credit, was gracious about it.
I was very relieved because she had every right to say to me, I don't want to talk. I said, listen, you have an option of not talking to me again. And I completely understand it. And she said, no, I accept your apology, let's move on.
David Furnish, Elton's husband, explained why this reconciliation mattered so much to them. As parents now, they didn't want to put negative energy into the world. They didn't want their kids growing up seeing them involved in petty feuds. Elton later said the reconciliation lifted a weight off his heart, that for years the feud had bothered him more than he wanted to admit, and finally letting it go felt like freedom. This wasn't a dramatic, tear-filled reunion like some of the others. It was quiet, simple, and mature. Two legends who realize that life's too short to stay angry, and sometimes the best apologies happen over dinner in a French restaurant. Outside music and Hollywood, rivalries are also too common in boxing, and that's where the next story takes place. Boxing is brutal, not just physically, mentally. Two people step into a ring, and one of them has to lose. And when you lose to someone, especially in a high-profile fight, it's hard not to take it personally. You train for months, sacrifice everything, and then boom, someone's better than you. That's ego-crushing. Froch and Ward fought in 2011 in the Super 6 World Boxing Classic. It was one of the most grueling tournaments in boxing history, and their fight was the finale. Ward won decisively. Two judges had it 115-113, which was way too close. The third judge had it 118-110, which was much more accurate. Ward was just better, but for Froch, that loss haunted him for years. 14 years, Froch talked about Ward in interviews, and he never said anything nice. He'd call Ward boring, defensive, unexciting. He'd say, yeah, he's good, but always a caveat, always something to diminish him, and Ward heard all of it, because of course he did. The internet doesn't let you forget. But then in 2025, something changed. Froch invited Ward onto his YouTube channel, Froch on Fighting, and right away, Froch opened with humor and honesty.
Hey man, the only man I've not beaten, and this chat's been a long time coming. And yeah, great to have you. How you doing?
Ward smiled, and then Froch did something unexpected. He apologized.
Time for me to chuck a quick apology in as well. If I'm, I've got to be true to myself. And as I've got a bit older, you just asked me my age. I'm 48 years old.
Yeah, I didn't know he was that much older.
What are you, 40, 42?
41.
41. And yeah, as you get older, you get a bit more wiser.
He admitted that over the years, as he got older and more reflective, he realized he'd been holding on to bitterness. He'd been letting his ego control the narrative, and he was done with it. He wanted to tell the truth. Ward beat him fair and square.
Mate, you beat me fair and square. In a fight, listen, it wasn't close. Two of the judges had it 150 and 113. Were they drunk? I mean, I don't know. And that made it worse for me.
And then the handshake, the formal apology. Carl extended his hand and Andre took it. And just like that, 14 years of tension evaporated. But here's where it gets even better, because Ward didn't just accept the apology and move on. He gave Froch credit. You sharpened me moving forward. So man, I appreciate that. You know, it takes a lot to do that as a man, but also as a fighter. Ward explained that fighting Froch pushed him to be better, that the Super 6 tournament, as brutal as it was, made him the champion he became. And then he dropped a bombshell. He fought Froch with a hand injury and couldn't take painkillers. I hit him on top of the head, and it re-injured the hand. So the New Jersey Athletic Commission, they were like, you can't take Motrin, you can't take Tylenol. I couldn't take anything. Ward explained. He fought through the pain, adjusted his strategy, and still won. That's the championship mentality, and Froch respected the hell out of it. The two spent over an hour talking about the fight, about retirement, about the mental challenges of elite competition. They discussed how hard it is to walk away from boxing, how the structure and intensity become your identity, and by the end, they weren't rivals anymore. They were two legends who finally saw each other clearly. This wasn't about erasing the past. It was about acknowledging it, learning from it, and moving forward with respect. And that's the kind of reconciliation that actually means something. Now let's move to hip-hop, where feuds and beefs aren't alien. If you were on the internet in 2015, you remember the Drake versus Meek Mill beef. It was everywhere. Twitter was a war zone. Memes were flying. Diss tracks were dropping. And for a minute, it looked like these two were never going to speak again. It started when Meek accused Drake of using a ghostwriter on their collaboration. RICO, Meek tweeted about it, trying to expose Drake as inauthentic. And Drake, he responded with Charged Up, and then back to back, two diss tracks that absolutely obliterated Meek. Back to back became a cultural moment. People were playing it at parties, at the gym, everywhere. It was ruthless. Meek tried to respond, but it didn't land the same way. And for a while, the consensus was clear. Drake won, Meek took the L, and that beef simmered for years. But in 2018, something shifted. Drake brought Meek out on stage in Boston, and they hugged it out. It was a surprise, but people were skeptical. Like, was this real? Or just a PR move? Then in 2023, Drake did it again, but this time he said something that made it clear this reconciliation was genuine.
Ain't this what they've been waiting for? You ready?
Drake walked out on stage at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Meek's home turf, and addressed the crowd. Y'all see who I walked out here with, right? I'd always keep it 100 with you. The last time I was in this building, that man right here, he's been representing this city since he started this. That man, me and him weren't getting along at the time, and he is a real one, so he definitely got us up out of Philly real quick. We did not get to stick around and chill. Drake admitted that Meek ran him out of Philly, that at the height of their beef, it wasn't safe for Drake to perform there. And now, he was back, standing next to Meek, showing respect. It means the most to me that I could come back to this city and show the growth as two men that we can come here tonight and we can represent for Philadelphia together, Drake said. The crowd went wild because this wasn't just about two rappers making up. This was about growth, maturity, and recognizing that beef, especially public beef, can go too far. Drake later explained in a Rap Radar interview that he respected Meek because he wasn't beefing with some industry plant or a fake tough guy. Meek was real, and that made the reconciliation meaningful. I wasn't beefing with no punk. For us to be able to turn that around, it was a big thing. I think we both felt an obligation because we know how far it was going and almost went, Drake said. This wasn't about erasing the diss tracks or pretending the beef never happened. It was about acknowledging that they both went too far, and now it was time to move forward. And in hip-hop, where beefs can turn deadly, that kind of maturity is rare and necessary. Still in the music industry, next we have a beef that is older. T-Pain revolutionized music. Love it or hate it, auto-tune became a defining sound of the 2000s and 2010s because of him. He made it mainstream, he made it cool, and for a while he was on top of the world. Hit after hit, collaborations with everyone, Grammy wins, but behind the scenes, something was eating at him. In 2013, T-Pain was on a plane when Usher walked up to him, and instead of giving him props or just saying what's up, Usher said something that crushed him. "Man, I want to tell you something, man. Man, you kind of fucked up music." T-Pain later revealed this moment sent him into a 4-year depression, because Usher wasn't just some random hater. Usher was someone he respected, someone he looked up to, and hearing that from him, it destroyed T-Pain's confidence. He stopped making music. He questioned everything. He felt like maybe Usher was right. For years, T-Pain carried that pain, no pun intended. He talked about it in interviews, on podcasts, and in the Netflix docuseries This Is Pop. And people started calling Usher out for it. Like, why would you say that to someone? What was the point? Usher eventually addressed it in a Billboard interview, saying he never meant to hurt T-Pain and that private conversations should be uplifting. But words had already been said. Damage had already been done. Then in 2024, at a Dave Chappelle event in Atlanta, T-Pain and Usher were both there, and T-Pain decided it was time to let it go.
We ain't going through nothing, bro. We ain't going through a goddamn thing. It's all love. And the time when we're divided the most, we need to be together the most, for sure. I love you, bro.
T-Pain stood on stage and told Usher, publicly in front of everyone, that he loved him, that they weren't going to let outside forces divide them, that it was time to move past the hurt. He kept going, getting more emotional, more passionate, and then they hugged. A real hug. No, not a quick dap and move on. A long, genuine embrace, and the crowd erupted.
Madonna.
This moment was powerful because T-Pain could have held onto that grudge forever. He had every right to. Usher's words had real consequences. Depression, career doubt, years of pain. But instead, T-Pain chose forgiveness. He chose to let it go. And that's strength. That's emotional maturity. That's growth. Sometimes the person who hurt you doesn't even realize how deep the wound goes. But when you finally have the conversation, when you finally release it, that's when real healing happens. And that's what T-Pain and Usher did. They healed publicly for everyone to see. Up next, a high-profile Hollywood feud. You know, some celebrity feuds feel like ancient history. Beef that's been cold for so long, you almost forget it even happened. But then there are the ones that left actual casualties, real damage, careers destroyed, reputations shattered, families torn apart. And when those people finally meet again after decades of silence, that's when things get raw. Will Smith and Janet Hubert had one of the most painful fallouts in TV history. Janet played the original Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for 3 seasons before disappearing from the show in 1993, and for 27 years, they didn't speak. Not at reunions, not at award shows, nowhere. Radio silence. But in 2020, for the show's 30th anniversary special, they finally sat down face to face. And what came out? It wasn't just old grudges. It was devastation, secrets, and the kind of honesty that makes you uncomfortable to watch. Before they even started talking, both of them recorded separate confessionals explaining their side of what went down. Janet went first, and immediately you could feel the weight she'd been carrying.
But what you didn't realize either, that I was going through a lot at home.
Right.
You didn't know. You guys didn't know. Very abusive marriage.
That's the first thing she said, not about the show, not about the drama, about what was happening to her at home. And suddenly everything shifted, because for 27 years, people thought Janet left because she was difficult, demanding, unprofessional. Will himself had said she was hard to work with. But the truth, she was fighting for her life. She explained that during season 3, when she got pregnant, everything in her life was falling apart. Her husband was out of work. She was being offered a terrible contract, only 2 months and 2 weeks of work per year, with no ability to take other jobs. Her salary was being slashed, and at home, she was enduring abuse that no one on set knew about.
But you took all that away from me. With your words. You know, words can kill. But I lost everything. Reputation, everything.
And here's where it gets brutal, because after Janet left the show, Will, a 21-year-old kid who was also dealing with his own pressures and fears, talked about her publicly. He said she was difficult, and in Hollywood, especially for a black woman, that label is career poison. Janet lost everything. Her family disowned her. Hollywood blacklisted her. She couldn't watch Fresh Prince reruns for years because it was too painful.
But you know those words, calling a black woman difficult. In Hollywood, it's the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death, and it's hard enough being a dark-skinned black woman.
Will listened to all of this, and you could see it hitting him in real time. Because he's older now, he's been married, had kids, faced his own struggles, and suddenly he understood what he couldn't see at 21.
I can see now the level of pain and the level of struggle that it was for you just to show up every day.
But here's the thing, Janet didn't just come to accuse him, she came to heal, because she knew she'd also contributed to the pain. She'd spent years publicly blasting Will, going after him in interviews, holding on to that anger, and now she was ready to let it go.
And I'm sorry that I have blasted you to pieces.
No, it is so, first of all, thank you.
Two people, both carrying decades of hurt, both are ready to apologize. And then, the moment that broke everyone.
Come here, you.
27 years. I think we were just short of 27 years.
They hugged. A long, tight, emotional hug that said everything words couldn't. The audience watching live started crying. The other cast members were in tears. Because this wasn't just two celebrities making up for the cameras. This was real forgiveness, real closure, real healing. Will told her, "I could not do a 30-year celebration of this show and not celebrate you." And then he said something that stuck with everyone who watched. "The person I want to be is someone who protects you, not someone that unleashes dogs on you." Janet later said the conversation was healing, that after 27 years, she finally felt free. And for Will, he got to right a wrong that had haunted him for decades. Sometimes the only way forward is to go back and face what you left behind. And last but not least, a major feud ended with comedy. Charlie Sheen's public meltdown in 2011 was one of the wildest celebrity implosions ever. Tiger blood, winning, goddesses, it was everywhere. And at the center of it all was his very public feud with Chuck Lorre, the creator of 2.5 Men. Charlie was fired from the show after years of erratic behavior, substance abuse, and increasingly hostile behavior toward Chuck. He went on talk shows and trashed Chuck. He called him names. He made it personal, and Chuck stayed silent, watching his biggest show implode in real time. For years, they didn't speak. Charlie moved on to other projects. Chuck kept creating hit shows, but the damage was deep. The relationship was over. Then in 2023, something unexpected happened. Chuck was working on a new Max series called Bookie about illegal sports gambling in Los Angeles, and he realized he needed a celebrity cameo, someone who could play a fictionalized version of themselves as a degenerate gambler. And suddenly, he knew exactly who to call.
Why, but I just realized that I know who should play the scene as our real-life celebrity degenerate gambler. I said, Charlie Sheen.
Chuck called Charlie and offered him the role, and Charlie said yes, not because he needed the work, not because he was trying to make a comeback, but because he was in the same place Chuck was, ready to move on.
And he was grateful for the offer. He was funny, and he was in the same place. Let's move on. Let's close the door on this darkness that happened and do something fun.
Chuck admitted that for years the feud had haunted him. He couldn't even watch 2.5 Men reruns because the memories were too painful. But now he could appreciate what they'd created together. But working together again changed that. It lifted the weight, it gave them closure. And here's what's brilliant about this reconciliation. They didn't pretend the past didn't happen. They used it. Charlie's role in Bookie is meta, self-aware, and funny. He plays into his own public image, but with perspective and humor, and that's how they turned their darkness into something creative. Sometimes the best way to heal from something painful is to find a way to laugh about it, and that's exactly what Chuck and Charlie did. They took one of the messiest celebrity feuds in TV history and turned it into comedy gold. Up next, one of the most famous pop culture feuds of all time. Alright, let's talk about one of the most talked about feuds in pop music history. For years, Taylor Swift and Katy Perry were basically the poster children for celebrity beef. And honestly, the drama was delicious. But what makes this story so incredible is how it went from bad blood to, well, actual good vibes. Buckle up because this roller coaster has more twists than a Taylor Swift album rollout. So here's where it all started, and trust me, it's pettier than you'd think. December 2013, Taylor's in the middle of her Red tour, living her best life, when suddenly 3 of her backup dancers, including a guy named Lockhart Brownlee, just leave mid-tour. And where do they go? Straight to Katy Perry's Prismatic World Tour. Now, these weren't just random dancers. They'd worked with Katy for 2.5 years before joining Taylor's tour. So when Katy came calling, they answered. And Brownlee, he literally told an Australian newspaper, quote, "We weren't really dancing in Taylor's tour anyway, so I had got a little bored." Ouch. Can you imagine reading that in the press? Fast forward to September 2014, Taylor does a Rolling Stone cover story, and she is not holding back. She said, and I quote, "She did something so horrible. I was like, oh, we're just straight up enemies. And it wasn't even about a guy. It had to do with business. She basically tried to sabotage an entire arena tour. She tried to hire a bunch of people out from under me." Now, Taylor never actually named Katy in this interview, but come on, we all knew exactly who she was talking about. And the very next day after that interview drops, Katy tweets, "Watch out for the Regina George in sheep's clothing." If you don't get that reference, go watch Mean Girls immediately. But basically, Katy just called Taylor a fake mean girl. The gloves were off, people. Then came the music. In May 2015, Taylor drops Bad Blood with a music video that was basically an Avengers-level cast of celebrities. Every major star you can think of was in that video, and the message was clear. Taylor had an army behind her. Katy fires back in May 2017 with Swish Swish featuring Nicki Minaj. The lyrics were pretty brutal, talking about karma and people who try to mess with her. And in her carpool karaoke episode with James Corden, Katy straight up said, "Honestly, it's really like she started it, and it's time for her to finish it. I tried to talk to her about it, and she wouldn't speak to me." For 5 years, these two didn't speak. 5 entire years. That's longer than most high school relationships, people. Okay, here's where it gets good. It's May 8th, 2018. Taylor's Reputation Stadium Tour is opening night in Glendale, Arizona. She's in her dressing room getting ready, probably running through her set list, when something arrives that changes everything. Katy Perry sends her an actual literal olive branch, like a real branch from an olive tree, and it comes with a handwritten note on stationery that has Katy's puppy Nugget on it. The envelope is sealed with a Nugget sticker, because of course it is. Taylor immediately posts this on her Instagram story, and you can tell she's genuinely emotional.
So I just got to my dressing room and found this actual olive branch. This means so much to me.
The note says, "Hey old friend, I've been doing some reflecting on past miscommunications and hurt feelings between us. I really want to clear the air. I'm deeply sorry." Taylor immediately posts this on her Instagram story, and you can tell she's genuinely emotional. She captions it, "Thank you, Katy," with heart emojis. And here's the kicker. So, Ursies told Entertainment Tonight that Katy had basically decided she was going to keep trying to make peace no matter what. She told friends that if Taylor didn't accept this apology, she would just keep trying because she was done holding grudges. That's actually kind of beautiful. But the real moment that broke the internet came on June 17th, 2019. Taylor's "You Need to Calm Down" music video premieres on Good Morning America, and nobody was ready for what they were about to see. Turns out Taylor had texted Katy this long message explaining the whole concept for the video. Then, and this is my favorite detail, she invited Katy over to her house and baked her cookies. Yes, Taylor Swift bakes. And according to Katy, they're actually so delicious. So they're hanging out, eating cookies, and Taylor proposes this genius idea. Instead of just showing them hugging and making up like normal people, why not do something totally wacky? Her pitch: they should dress up as a burger and fries. Because in Taylor's words, it's a metaphor for two people who belong together. People who are a perfect pair. Katy shows up to the video shoot in the same custom Moschino hamburger costume she wore to a Met Gala after party. We're talking full lettuce, tomato, pickles, sesame seed bun, the works. Taylor's dressed as a giant order of fries. The video shows this chaotic scene with RuPaul hosting a pop queen pageant. There's a food fight happening, crowns are flying through the air, and then in the middle of all this chaos, Burger Katy and Fries Taylor spot each other across the room. They walk toward each other through the madness and just hug, a real genuine embrace. Katy's Instagram caption: "This meal is beef free with burger and fries emojis." Taylor responds, a happy meal. The internet absolutely lost it, and the friendship is real, you guys. In February 2024, Katy showed up to Taylor's Eras Tour in Sydney and hilariously filmed herself singing along to Bad Blood, the song that was literally about their feud, with these exaggerated wide eyes like, can you believe this? Then at the 2024 MTV VMAs, when Katy got the Video Vanguard Award, Taylor was in the audience going absolutely feral. She was dancing, singing every word to Katy's medley, and gave her the first standing ovation. The camera caught Taylor looking genuinely proud and happy for her former rival. In January 2025, Katy summed up their relationship perfectly. I love her so much. From enemies to burger and fries to genuine friendship. You really do love to see it, but then this next rivalry will completely blow your mind. If you thought the Taylor and Katy drama was intense, buckle up, because we're about to talk about what many consider the greatest lyrical battle in hip-hop history. This is the story of Jay-Z versus Nas, a beef so legendary that one of the diss tracks literally became a verb. When someone gets completely destroyed in a rap battle now, we say they got ethered. Yeah, it's that serious. But what makes this story even more incredible is how these two went from wanting to destroy each other's careers to becoming actual brothers. This is hip-hop history, people. The Jay-Z and Nas rivalry didn't start with a bang. It was more like a slow burn that eventually turned into a 5-alarm fire. It all started back in 1996, when Nas allegedly didn't show up to a recording session for Jay-Z's debut album Reasonable Doubt. So what happens? Producer Ski Beats takes matters into his own hands and samples Nas's voice from his song The World Is Yours for Jay-Z's track Dead Presidents 2. Keep that song name in your mind, because it becomes super important later in this story. For years, things simmered. There were subliminal shots in songs, little comments here and there, but everything exploded at Summer Jam 2001. Jay-Z's on stage. He starts freestyling and ends with this line: "Ask Nas, he don't want it with Hav." The crowd went nuts, and Nas, he heard about it. The war was officially on. September 11th, 2001, yes, that September 11th, Jay-Z drops Take Over. And it is brutal. He calls Nas a has-been, rapping about how Nas has one hot album every 10-year average. That's like telling a chef their signature dish is trash. In the rap world, that's fighting words. Nas waits. He takes his time. And then on December 4th, 2001, his own 32nd birthday, he drops Ether. And oh my god, this track is so devastating that it literally changed hip-hop vocabulary forever. The word ether now means to completely and utterly destroy someone lyrically. That's the impact this song had. Jay-Z responds with super ugly, but here's where he crosses a line that even his own mother couldn't ignore. He raps about personal, intimate details involving the mother of Nas's daughter. We're talking about bragging about leaving condoms in places they shouldn't be. It was too far. And then something unprecedented happens. Jay-Z's own mother, Gloria Carter, calls into Hot 97 radio, his mom. She gets on the radio and tells her son that he went too far and needs to apologize. Jay-Z later said, "Mom put in a call and said that went too far, and she's never ever called me about music." When your own mother calls you out on the radio, you know you messed up. Hot 97 did a listener poll about who won the beef. The results? Nas won 58% to 42%. The beef continued for years after this, with subliminal shots and tension whenever their names were mentioned together. Now we jump to October 27th, 2005. Power 105.1 is putting on their powerhouse concert at the Continental Airlines Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. About 15,000 fans are packing into this venue. And Jay-Z, who's now the president and CEO of Def Jam Records, has been promoting this show with the ominous tagline, "I declare war." The stage is set up like a mock Oval Office. There are fake Secret Service agents standing at the back doors. The entire vibe is aggressive, confrontational. Everyone in hip-hop is watching because they think Jay-Z is about to publicly destroy his enemies on stage. The concert starts, Kanye West performs, Diddy comes out, T.I., Young Jeezy, all the heavy hitters. Then Beanie Siegel shows up as a surprise, and he literally just got out of prison. The energy is intense. Jay-Z starts showing tribute images on the screens. Biggie, Tupac, Big Pun, Aaliyah, all legends who passed too soon. Then he shows Rosa Parks, who had died less than a week before this concert. The whole arena is in this emotional, heavy space. And then Jay-Z says something that makes the entire arena hold its breath. He announces,
"You know what I did for y'all, for hip-hop? I said, fuck that shit. Let's go, Esco.
For those who don't know, Esco is short for Escobar, which is Nas's nickname, and the crowd just loses it.
You ready?
Nas walks out onto that stage, and witnesses described the sound as deafening applause. One writer said the crowd went monkey bananas. And honestly, that might be understating it. 15,000 people are screaming at the top of their lungs. Here's the part that gives me chills every time I hear about it. Jay-Z and Nas just stand there. They don't perform immediately, they don't say anything. They just stand on that stage together, motionless, for nearly 2 minutes, just letting the crowd reaction wash over them. The applause doesn't stop. People are screaming, crying, losing their minds because these two legends are on stage together. Then they shake hands. And here's the symbolic genius of what happens next. They perform Dead Presidents and The World Is Yours together. Remember those songs I mentioned earlier? The ones that were part of how this beef even started? They're performing them together. That's poetry in motion, people. Nas does a full 15-minute set for Street Dreams. It Ain't Hard to Tell, New York State of Mind, all the classics. Then Kanye, Diddy, Jay-Z, and Nas all end up on stage together for the finale of Encore. Jay-Z addresses the crowd and says, "This is for hip-hop, we love y'all." And then he drops the quote that defined this whole reconciliation. "All that beef shit is done. We had our fun. Let's get this money." Now, you might be wondering, how did this actually happen? Because feuds this big don't just end randomly. Turns out, L.A. Reid, who was chairman of Island Def Jam Music Group at the time, had been encouraging both of them to squash their beef. But the real heroes here are Mark Pitts, who was Nas's manager and had also managed Biggie, and his partner Wayne Barrow. They set up a face-to-face meeting between Jay-Z and Nas in fall 2005, before the concert. According to Nas's VH1 Behind the Music special, when these two finally sat down in a studio together after years of not speaking, you know what happened? They laughed. They just looked at each other and started laughing. Mark Pitts explained it simply. Hip-hop needed this. Wayne Barrow added that he hoped this would change the culture. Battling over lyrical prowess is one thing, but to turn it into a violent scenario is another. Kids are mimicking these situations as if they're real. They were literally thinking about the bigger picture, about young fans who might take these beefs too seriously and turn words into violence. The reconciliation didn't end with that concert. On January 23, 2006, Nas signs to Def Jam Records. Yes, the same label where Jay-Z is the boss. Nas's former enemy is now literally his boss. The deal? About $3 million per album, and they start making music together. Black Republican in 2006, Success in 2007, BBC in 2013. Sorry, Not Sorry in 2021. These aren't just feature verses, these are full collaborations. In April 2019, at Jay-Z's B-Sides 2 concert at Webster Hall, Nas comes out during Success, and they perform together again. Jay-Z tells the crowd, "Nas is my brother. They're not my enemies, they're my brothers. We should have been doing shitty like this a long time ago. And here's how you know their friendship is real now." Nas jokes about it. On his 2022 album King's Disease 3, he raps. Sometimes I text Hova like, "Nay, this ain't over," laughing. When he talked about it on The Daily Show, he explained, "Well, when I released the track list for the album the other day, he released a picture with all his Grammys." They're teasing each other now. That's what friends do. Even Memphis Bleak, who's Jay-Z's protege and was deeply loyal during the beef, has admitted about Ether. "He got us. That shetty was cooked crack cocaine right there." When your own team admits the other side got you, that's when you know the beef is truly over, and everyone can look back and respect the artistry of it all.